Hello, beautiful soul. I'm Aurora, and welcome to Twin Flame Journey, a space where we explore the deeper meaning behind soul connections, divine timing, and the path that leads two hearts back to union. If you've been feeling the signs, you're in the right place.
Have you ever experienced a moment that felt too precise to be coincidence? Perhaps you suddenly thought about someone you haven't spoken to in months, and seconds later, your phone lit up with their name. Or maybe a song that reminds you of them began playing in your mind out of nowhere, only to discover later that they had been listening to the exact same song at that moment. Strange, isn't it? At first, most people dismiss these moments as random chance. After all, our rational minds prefer simple explanations. We tell ourselves it's just timing, probability, or imagination. But what if it isn't? What if these moments are actually the earliest signals of something much deeper, something that exists beyond logic, distance, and even the physical world? Many people who walk the twin flame journey begin to notice a pattern of experiences that feel almost impossible to explain. These experiences often appear long before any physical reunion happens. In fact, they may occur during the most confusing phase of the connection, the period of separation. And yet, during this time when two people seem furthest apart, something unexpected begins to happen. Their energy starts communicating, not through words, not through messages, but through something far more subtle and far more powerful. Before we explore the specific signs, pause for a moment and ask yourself a question. Have you ever felt someone's presence even when they weren't physically there? Perhaps you were sitting quietly, working, reading, or simply going about your day, and suddenly a powerful feeling washed over you. A memory,
an emotion,
a sense that someone was thinking about you. You couldn't see them. You couldn't hear them. But somehow you felt them. Why does this happen? Why do certain connections seem to transcend distance in a way that ordinary relationships never do? This is where the concept of energetic bonds begins to emerge. Many spiritual traditions believe that when two souls share a profound connection, they remain linked on an energetic level, even when they are physically apart. Think of it like two instruments tuned to the same frequency. When one vibrates, the other begins to resonate as well. You may not see the vibration, but you can feel it. And when it comes to twin flames, this energetic resonance is often extraordinarily intense. Some people describe it as feeling like a part of themselves exists within another person. Others say it feels as if their emotions, thoughts, and inner world are mysteriously connected to someone else's life. This doesn't mean the connection is always easy. In fact, the twin flame journey is often filled with confusion, emotional intensity, and long periods of distance. There are moments when you may question everything. You may even try to convince yourself that the connection was only in your imagination. But then something happens. A sign appears. Maybe you suddenly hear their voice in your mind while walking down the street. Maybe you feel a surge of emotion that doesn't belong to you. Or perhaps you dream about them repeatedly in ways that feel strangely real, almost like you were truly together. These moments begin to form a pattern. And the pattern raises a question that becomes harder and harder to ignore. What if the connection never truly disappeared? What if it simply changed form? You see, many people expect reunion to happen only in the physical world. They imagine that union begins the moment two people meet again face to face. But according to many who have experienced the twin flame path, the reunion actually begins much earlier, on an energetic level. Before two people reconnect physically, their energy fields start aligning. It's almost like two distant stars slowly drifting back into the same orbit. At first, the movement is subtle, barely noticeable. But as time passes, the gravitational pull becomes stronger. And eventually, the signs become impossible to ignore. One of the most fascinating aspects of this process is how naturally it unfolds. These experiences don't usually arrive with dramatic announcements or obvious explanations. Instead, they appear quietly, woven into everyday life. A sudden thought, a shared emotion, a vivid dream. At first, you may question it. Am I imagining this? Why do I keep thinking about them? Why do I feel connected even when we haven't spoken in so long? These questions are incredibly common among people navigating this type of connection. The mind searches for answers, while the heart senses something deeper unfolding beneath the surface. And this is where the mystery begins. Because if you look closely, you may start to notice that these experiences are not random. They often occur during moments of transformation, times when both individuals are growing, healing, or facing important changes in their lives. It's almost as if the universe is gradually preparing both people for something, preparing them for alignment, preparing them for reunion. But before that reunion can happen in the physical world, the energetic connection becomes stronger and clearer. The communication between souls begins to intensify, sometimes in ways that feel almost surreal. This is when people begin to report experiences such as thinking the exact same thoughts at the same time, feeling each other's emotions across distance, dreaming about meeting or speaking with each other, receiving intuitive messages about the other person. To someone unfamiliar with the concept of energetic connections, these experiences might sound impossible. But for those who have lived through them, they feel unmistakably real. And the more they happen, the more one question begins to surface. Could these signs mean that union is getting closer? Many believe the answer is yes. Not because the universe suddenly decides to reunite two people overnight, but because both individuals are gradually reaching the same level of inner alignment. Think about it. Two people cannot truly come together if they are moving in completely different emotional directions. Growth must happen. Healing must occur. Old wounds must be faced and released. And as this inner transformation unfolds, something remarkable begins to shift. The energetic communication between twin flames becomes stronger, clearer, more frequent, almost like two radios slowly tuning into the same station. At first there is static, confusion, interference, but eventually the signal becomes unmistakable. And when that happens, many people begin to realize something profound. The connection was never truly broken. It was simply evolving. So, as you watch this video and reflect on your own experiences, consider this possibility. What if those unexpected thoughts, those sudden emotional waves, and those vivid dreams are not random at all? What if they're signs that something is already happening beneath the surface? What if the connection between you and your twin flame is quietly strengthening, preparing both of you for the moment when your paths finally cross again? Because sometimes, the most powerful communication doesn't happen through words. It happens through energy. And the signs of that energy may already be appearing in your life right now. Have you ever felt connected to someone in a way that seemed to go far beyond ordinary relationships? Not just emotionally attached, not just romantically interested, but deeply, mysteriously linked, as if a part of your inner world somehow existed inside another person. For many people who believe they have encountered their twin flame, this feeling becomes one of the most defining aspects of the entire journey. Even when distance separates them, even when communication stops, even when life appears to push them in completely different directions, the sense of connection never fully disappears. It lingers quietly beneath the surface. Why does this happen? Why do some connections seem impossible to break, even when logic tells us they should fade away? To understand this phenomenon, we need to explore the concept of an energetic bond, a connection that operates beyond the physical senses. In everyday relationships, connection usually depends on interaction. We speak to each other, share experiences, build memories together, and gradually form emotional ties. When communication ends or people drift apart, those bonds often weaken over time. But the twin flame connection appears to follow a very different pattern. Many people report that the bond remains just as strong, sometimes even stronger, during periods of separation. In fact, the absence of physical contact often seems to intensify the internal awareness of the other person. This raises an intriguing question. How can a connection grow stronger when two people are not even interacting? The answer may lie in the idea that twin flames share a unique energetic resonance. Rather than simply forming a relationship through experiences, they appear to operate on the same energetic frequency. Imagine two tuning forks placed across a room. If one tuning fork is struck, it begins to vibrate at a specific frequency. Surprisingly, the other tuning fork, if tuned to the same pitch, will begin vibrating as well, even though it was never physically touched. No visible force connects them, yet the resonance travels through the air, activating the second instrument. In many ways, twin flames are believed to function in a similar manner. When one person experiences emotional growth, transformation, or awakening, the other often begins to feel the ripple effect. Their inner worlds begin to respond to each other in subtle but noticeable ways. This is why people on the twin flame journey frequently describe sudden emotional shifts that seem to have no clear origin. For example, someone may be going about their day feeling calm and balanced when, out of nowhere, a powerful wave of sadness appears. The feeling arrives suddenly, without any obvious cause. At first, they may assume it's simply a passing mood. But later, they discover something surprising. At that exact time, their twin flame was experiencing a painful emotional moment, perhaps facing a difficult realization, confronting a past wound, or going through a challenging life event. Coincidence? Perhaps. But when these moments begin to happen repeatedly, the pattern becomes harder to ignore. The invisible energetic bond begins to reveal itself through these small but meaningful signals. And this bond doesn't only manifest through emotions. It can also appear through thoughts, intuition, and even physical sensations. Some people report feeling sudden warmth in their chest when thinking about their twin flame. Others notice a strong sense of calm when they sense their twin is thinking of them. Occasionally, individuals even describe moments when they feel an almost magnetic pull toward a certain place or situation, only to later realize that their twin flame was somehow connected to that moment. It's as if an invisible thread quietly links their experiences together. But why would such a bond exist in the first place? According to many spiritual teachings, twin flames are believed to originate from the same energetic source. The concept suggests that one soul divides into two distinct expressions, each embarking on its own life journey. Over time, these two individuals grow separately, developing different personalities, facing different challenges, and learning unique lessons. Yet beneath these differences, the core essence remains connected, like two branches growing from the same root. Because of this shared origin, twin flames are thought to mirror each other on a deep level. Their strengths reflect one another, but so do their wounds. This mirroring process often becomes one of the most intense aspects of the twin flame journey. When two people share such a profound energetic connection, they naturally trigger each other's unresolved emotions and hidden fears. This is one of the reasons separation phases are so common. Instead of immediately finding harmony, the connection often forces both individuals to confront parts of themselves they may have avoided for years. Old insecurities, unhealed trauma, deep fears of abandonment or rejection. These inner struggles rise to the surface because the energetic bond acts like a mirror, reflecting everything that still needs healing. At times, this process can feel overwhelming. Many people even question whether the connection is real or healthy. Why would something that feels so spiritual also bring so much emotional intensity? The answer lies in transformation. The twin flame journey is not simply about romance or companionship. It is often described as a path of profound personal evolution. The connection pushes both individuals toward growth, even if that growth requires temporary distance. During these separation periods, something remarkable begins to happen. Although the physical relationship may pause, the energetic bond continues working quietly in the background. Both individuals begin healing, learning, and evolving in their own ways. And as they grow, their energetic frequencies gradually begin to align again. Think of it like two clocks that were once synchronized but slowly drifted apart over time. At first, their timing no longer matches. But with careful adjustment, both clocks can eventually return to the same rhythm. When twin flames begin reaching similar levels of emotional maturity and self-awareness, their energetic bond becomes stronger and more harmonious. This is often when people start noticing new signs. The connection begins to feel calmer, more balanced, less chaotic than before. Instead of overwhelming emotional storms, there may be moments of deep peace when thinking about the other person. The anger or pain that once dominated the connection begins to fade. In its place, a quiet sense of understanding emerges. Many individuals describe this stage as feeling like a gentle pull rather than an intense emotional whirlwind. The bond remains powerful, but it becomes steadier, more grounded. And as this alignment continues, the energetic communication between twin flames becomes increasingly clear. Thoughts begin to synchronize. Emotions begin to mirror. Dreams begin to overlap. It's almost as if the invisible thread connecting them grows stronger with each passing day. Eventually, this energetic harmony may prepare both individuals for something extraordinary. Reunion. But before that moment arrives in the physical world, the connection often reveals itself through unmistakable energetic signals. One of the most fascinating of these signals is something that many people once believed existed only in science fiction: telepathic communication. The ability to sense or receive thoughts and messages from another person without spoken words. While this idea may sound unbelievable at first, countless individuals on the twin flame journey describe moments where thoughts seem to travel between them effortlessly. A phrase appears in the mind that feels unfamiliar. A sudden urge to reach out arises at the exact moment the other person is thinking the same thing. Or a clear internal voice echoes words that seem to belong to someone else entirely. Is this imagination, intuition, or something far more mysterious? In the next chapter, we'll explore the first major sign that many people notice when twin flame union begins approaching: clear and undeniable telepathic communication between two souls that remain connected beyond distance and time. Sign 1. When telepathy becomes impossible to ignore. Have you ever thought about someone and within seconds they reached out to you? Maybe your phone suddenly buzzed with a message from them right after they crossed your mind. Or perhaps you felt an almost irresistible urge to text them, only to discover that they had been typing a message to you at the exact same time. At first, these moments may seem like coincidences. After all, coincidences happen in everyday life. People think about friends, and sometimes those friends call. Songs remind us of memories, and occasionally those memories connect to someone else's experience. But what happens when these events start occurring again and again? What happens when the timing becomes so precise that coincidence begins to feel like an incomplete explanation? For many people walking the twin flame journey, this is exactly what happens. Over time, they begin noticing a strange phenomenon. Thoughts about their twin flame appear suddenly, intensely, and often with perfect timing. And sometimes, those thoughts don't feel like they originate from within their own mind. Instead, they feel as though they arrived from somewhere else. This is where the idea of telepathic communication begins to enter the conversation. Telepathy is often described as the ability to transmit thoughts or emotions from one mind to another without using spoken language. While mainstream science still debates its existence, many spiritual traditions have long suggested that human consciousness may be capable of far more than we currently understand. And within the context of the twin flame connection, telepathy is frequently reported as one of the most powerful energetic signs that union may be approaching. But before we explore how this communication works, it's important to understand one key point. Twin flame telepathy rarely appears suddenly in a dramatic, obvious way. Instead, it begins subtly, quietly, almost like a whisper inside the mind. You might be walking down the street, focusing on something completely unrelated, when suddenly a clear thought appears. A phrase, a memory, a specific image of your twin flame. It may feel random at first, but then something interesting happens. Moments later, you receive a message from them, or you discover they were thinking about you at the exact same time. The first time this happens, you might laugh it off. The second time, you might pause. But by the 5th or 10th time, the pattern becomes difficult to dismiss. Something deeper seems to be happening. Many people on the twin flame path describe this experience as feeling like their thoughts and their twin flame's thoughts begin overlapping in subtle ways. Sometimes it appears as a sudden mental image. Other times it feels like a clear internal sentence that doesn't sound like their usual inner voice. For example, imagine sitting quietly at home one evening when a strong thought suddenly appears. I miss you. The words feel emotional and powerful, yet strangely unfamiliar, almost as if they didn't originate from your own thinking. Hours later, you receive a message from your twin flame saying the exact same words. Coincidence?
Possibly.
But when these experiences start repeating over weeks or months, many people begin to suspect something more mysterious may be taking place. Another common form of telepathic communication appears through sudden urges or impulses. You might suddenly feel an overwhelming need to check your phone. There is no obvious reason for the feeling, but the impulse is so strong that you can't ignore it. And when you finally unlock your screen, you see that your twin flame has just sent a message. Sometimes the timing is so precise that it feels almost impossible to explain through logic alone. But telepathic signals aren't always expressed through words or messages. In many cases, they appear through shared thoughts or synchronized ideas. Imagine hearing a specific song playing repeatedly in your mind throughout the day. You can't quite explain why that particular song keeps resurfacing, but it refuses to leave your thoughts. Later, you discover that your twin flame had been listening to that same song on repeat. Or perhaps a certain phrase keeps echoing in your mind. Days later, when you finally speak to them, they use the exact same phrase without realizing it. Moments like these can feel both fascinating and slightly unsettling. How could two people share the same thoughts without speaking? Some believe the answer lies in the energetic bond we discussed earlier. If twin flames truly operate on a shared energetic frequency, their mental and emotional signals may naturally travel across that energetic connection. Think of it like two radios tuned to the same channel. When one radio receives a broadcast, the other radio can hear the exact same message because both are aligned with the same frequency. In the case of twin flames, telepathic communication may simply be the natural result of two consciousnesses operating on the same energetic wavelength. But this communication doesn't only involve thoughts. It can also include intuitive knowing. There are moments when you suddenly feel certain about something related to your twin flame without any physical evidence. You may sense that they are going through a difficult emotional period. You may feel that they are thinking about reconnecting. You may even feel a strong inner message telling you that reunion is approaching. At first, these intuitive signals may feel confusing. The mind naturally questions anything that cannot be explained through ordinary logic. Am I imagining this? Why do I suddenly feel this way? Where did that thought come from? These questions are normal. But as the connection deepens, many people report that these intuitive signals begin to feel clearer and more trustworthy. Instead of chaotic thoughts, the messages start appearing with calm certainty. It feels less like guessing and more like knowing. Of course, telepathic communication doesn't mean that every random thought about your twin flame is coming directly from them. The human mind is naturally active and imaginative. However, people who experience genuine telepathic moments often describe a specific difference. The thought feels sudden, emotionally charged, and distinctly different from their usual thinking patterns. It arrives unexpectedly. It carries a strong emotional tone. And sometimes, it disappears just as quickly as it arrived, almost like a signal passing through. One fascinating aspect of twin flame telepathy is that it often becomes stronger during periods when both individuals are undergoing personal transformation. As emotional wounds heal and inner awareness expands, the energetic connection between twin flames appears to become clearer, like a signal that grows stronger when interference fades away. In the early stages of the journey, fear and confusion may block or distort the communication. But as both people evolve spiritually and emotionally, the connection begins operating with greater clarity. This is why many individuals report that telepathic experiences become more frequent shortly before reunion. It's as if both souls are gradually tuning into the same frequency again after a long period of disconnection. And when this alignment begins happening, the signs can become surprisingly obvious. Thoughts synchronize. Messages arrive at perfect moments. Intuitive insights become clearer. The invisible conversation between two souls grows stronger. At this point, many people begin asking themselves a powerful question. If telepathic communication is already happening, could it mean that something larger is unfolding? Could these signals be part of the universe's way of preparing two people to meet again? Because if two souls can communicate across distance without words, then perhaps the connection between them was never truly limited by the physical world. And perhaps the signs appearing now are not random events, but gentle reminders that the path toward union is already beginning to open. In the previous chapter, we explored the idea that telepathy between twin flames can begin as subtle signals, unexpected thoughts, sudden urges to contact someone, or phrases appearing in the mind without explanation. But what happens when those signals begin to show up in real life? What happens when the thoughts you experience are later confirmed by events that make coincidence feel almost impossible? For many people walking the twin flame journey, the moment they truly begin believing in telepathic communication doesn't happen during meditation or spiritual reflection. It happens during ordinary moments of everyday life, moments so specific and so perfectly timed that they leave a lasting impression. These experiences often start small. Perhaps you are sitting quietly in the evening, scrolling through your phone or reading a book, when a random memory of your twin flame suddenly appears in your mind. There is nothing in your surroundings that should have triggered the thought. You weren't looking at photos. You weren't listening to music that reminded you of them. And yet, their face appears clearly in your mind. You might even hear their voice internally, as if remembering a conversation from the past. At first, you may brush the thought aside. But then something unexpected happens. Your phone lights up. A message from them appears on the screen. The timing is so precise that it sends a small shock through your body. The thought you just experienced seems to have arrived at the exact same moment they decided to reach out. Coincidence? Perhaps. But now imagine that this type of moment doesn't happen once. It happens again and again and again. Over time, many people begin noticing a pattern. Their twin flame seems to appear in their thoughts right before contact occurs. The thought arrives almost like a quiet signal, a subtle announcement that something is about to happen. And this is when the experience becomes truly intriguing, because sometimes the telepathic connection becomes even more specific. Imagine walking through a grocery store when a particular song suddenly begins playing in your mind. It's not playing in the store speakers, it's just inside your head. The melody repeats itself over and over, almost as if someone pressed replay inside your thoughts. You may wonder why that specific song appeared. Hours later, you open social media and see your twin flame posted that exact song earlier that day. The coincidence begins to feel less random. Stories like this are surprisingly common among people who believe they share a twin flame connection. While each experience is unique, many of them share a similar structure. A sudden thought appears. An emotional reaction follows. And later, reality confirms that the other person was somehow involved in the same moment. Consider another example. A woman once described waking up in the middle of the night with a strong sense that her twin flame was thinking about her. The feeling was so vivid that she couldn't fall back asleep. She tried to ignore it, telling herself it was probably just her imagination. But the sensation remained, almost like an invisible presence surrounding her thoughts. The next morning, she received a message. Her twin flame had written to say that he couldn't sleep the night before because he kept thinking about her. The timing was nearly identical. Moments like this begin to challenge our understanding of how connection works. Are these experiences simply psychological projections? Or could there be an energetic link allowing thoughts and emotions to travel between two people? Another fascinating type of telepathic moment involves shared ideas. Imagine working on a creative project when a unique idea suddenly appears in your mind. You feel excited about it and begin developing the concept further. Later that day, you discover that your twin flame had been thinking about a remarkably similar idea. In some cases, people even begin speaking to each other about the idea at the same time, realizing they had been contemplating the same concept without any prior discussion. It almost feels as if the idea existed somewhere between them, waiting to be noticed by both. This phenomenon can also appear through symbolic experiences. For instance, someone might repeatedly see a specific number or symbol that reminds them of their twin flame. The symbol appears throughout the day, in license plates, phone numbers, receipts, or street signs. Later, they discover that the symbol has personal significance for their twin flame. Perhaps it is a number connected to an important date in their life, or a phrase that holds deep emotional meaning. The more these patterns appear, the more difficult it becomes to dismiss them as random chance. Yet even when people begin noticing these moments, they often hesitate to talk about them.
Why?
Because telepathy challenges the way most of us understand communication. We are taught that communication requires physical interaction, spoken words, written messages, visible gestures. The idea that two people might communicate through thoughts alone feels difficult to accept within the framework of everyday logic. And yet, history is filled with stories suggesting that human consciousness may be capable of extraordinary forms of connection. In moments of deep emotional bonding between close family members, lifelong friends, or romantic partners, people sometimes report sensing each other's thoughts or feelings across distance. But within the twin flame experience, these moments often seem more frequent and more precise.
Why might that be?
One explanation relates to the intensity of the energetic bond between twin flames. Because their emotional and spiritual connection is believed to be unusually strong, the flow of information between them may occur more easily. In simple terms, their inner worlds may already be synchronized. Think about how two dancers move together during a perfectly coordinated performance. Each dancer anticipates the other's movements without needing verbal instructions. Their bodies respond naturally because they are attuned to the same rhythm. Twin flame telepathy may operate in a similar way. When two people share a deeply aligned energetic frequency, their thoughts and emotions may begin moving in harmony, sometimes even before either person consciously realizes it. However, telepathic communication doesn't always involve dramatic confirmations. Often, it appears through quiet, personal moments that only the individuals themselves can recognize. You may suddenly feel the urge to send encouragement to your twin flame, even though you haven't spoken in months. Later, you learn that they were struggling emotionally at that exact time. Or you might experience a sudden wave of happiness that seems to come from nowhere, only to discover later that something wonderful had just happened in their life. These moments can feel almost magical, but they also serve a deeper purpose. They remind both individuals that their connection still exists, even when the physical relationship appears distant or uncertain. In many ways, telepathic experiences act like gentle signals, small flashes of awareness reminding both people that the bond between them is still alive. And as these signals continue appearing, they often lead to an important realization. The connection between twin flames may not rely solely on physical presence. It may operate on a level far deeper than ordinary communication. If thoughts can travel between them, if emotions can be sensed across distance, then perhaps something extraordinary is unfolding beneath the surface. Perhaps the invisible thread connecting them is becoming stronger. And perhaps these moments of telepathy are not random at all, but part of a larger process guiding them slowly back toward each other. But telepathic thoughts are only one layer of this mysterious connection. In the next chapter, we will explore another powerful sign that often appears as twin flame union approaches, the sudden synchronization of emotions, where two people begin feeling the same emotional waves at the exact same time, even when they are miles apart. Sign 2. When your emotions are no longer only your own. Have you ever felt an emotion so sudden and so intense that you couldn't explain where it came from? Perhaps you woke up one morning feeling unusually heavy, as if a quiet sadness had settled in your chest. Nothing specific had happened in your life to cause it. Your day was ordinary. Your surroundings were calm. And yet, the emotion was unmistakable. Or maybe the opposite occurred. In the middle of a normal day, a wave of unexpected joy washed over you. A deep sense of peace appeared without any clear reason. You paused for a moment, wondering, why do I suddenly feel this way? For many people on the twin flame journey, experiences like this begin to happen more frequently as their connection deepens. Emotions appear suddenly, sometimes shifting within minutes, often without any clear personal trigger. At first, these emotional waves can be confusing. You may try to analyze your surroundings. Did something happen earlier that caused this feeling? Did a memory surface subconsciously? Are you simply tired or overwhelmed? But sometimes, no logical explanation appears. The feeling arrives suddenly and leaves just as mysteriously. This is where many people begin noticing a remarkable pattern. The emotions they experience often seem to reflect what their twin flame is going through at that exact moment. It's as if their emotional worlds are quietly linked. Imagine sitting peacefully at home one evening when a sudden sense of anxiety appears in your chest. You check your thoughts, searching for a reason, but nothing in your life feels stressful enough to justify such a strong emotional response. Hours later, you discover that your twin flame was facing a difficult situation at that exact time, perhaps an argument, a major decision, or a moment of deep uncertainty. The realization can feel startling. Was the emotion truly yours? Or were you sensing something happening within them? This phenomenon is often described as emotional synchronization, a state where two people begin sharing emotional waves across distance without direct communication. While this idea may sound unusual at first, many people who experience twin flame connections describe this exact pattern. They begin noticing emotional shifts that mirror the experiences of the other person, even when they haven't spoken for months. But how could such a connection be possible? One possible explanation lies in the energetic bond between twin flames. If two individuals are connected through a shared energetic frequency, their emotional states may influence one another much like two instruments vibrating on the same note. Think back to the example of tuning forks vibrating together. If one begins to vibrate strongly, the other may start vibrating as well, even without physical contact. In a similar way, emotions carry energetic signals. When someone experiences intense feelings, those emotions can ripple outward through their energetic field. If another person is closely aligned with that energy, they may begin sensing those ripples. This doesn't mean every emotion you experience comes from your twin flame. Human emotions are naturally complex, and many feelings arise from our own thoughts, memories, and life circumstances. However, people who experience emotional synchronization often describe a specific difference. The emotion feels unexpected and disconnected from their personal situation. It arrives suddenly, often with surprising intensity. And in some cases, it fades quickly once the emotional moment on the other side has passed. Consider a simple example. A man once described sitting at work during an ordinary afternoon when he suddenly felt an overwhelming sense of nostalgia connected to his twin flame. The feeling was so vivid that it distracted him from everything he was doing. He couldn't explain why the emotion appeared. Later that evening, he received a message. His twin flame had been looking through old photos of their time together earlier that day, feeling exactly the same nostalgic emotions. The timing aligned perfectly. Stories like this are shared surprisingly often among people who believe they are connected to a twin flame. Sometimes the emotional signals are subtle, gentle waves of calm or quiet longing. Other times they can be much stronger. For example, some individuals report experiencing sudden sadness that seems deeper than anything they would normally feel. The emotion may arrive without warning and linger for hours. When they later speak with their twin flame, they discover that the other person was going through a painful moment at that exact time. It can feel as if the emotional experience was briefly shared. These moments often lead to a powerful realization. Emotions may not always belong entirely to the individual experiencing them. Instead, they may sometimes reflect the emotional state of someone deeply connected to them. This realization can be both fascinating and overwhelming. On one hand, it can bring a sense of closeness and understanding. Even when distance separates two people, their emotional worlds may still touch in subtle ways. On the other hand, emotional synchronization can sometimes feel confusing, especially when the emotions being shared are difficult or painful. This is why many people on the twin flame path begin developing greater emotional awareness. They learn to pause and ask themselves an important question whenever sudden feelings arise. Is this emotion truly mine? This question is not meant to deny personal feelings, but rather to create space for reflection. By observing emotional patterns carefully, individuals often begin recognizing which emotions originate from their own experiences and which may be echoes of someone else's inner world. Interestingly, emotional synchronization doesn't only occur during difficult moments. It can also appear during times of joy, excitement, or personal breakthroughs. For example, someone might suddenly feel a powerful sense of optimism about the future, even when nothing specific has changed in their own life. Later, they discover that their twin flame had just achieved an important personal milestone. The shared emotional resonance can feel uplifting, almost like receiving a silent message of celebration. In many cases, these positive emotional signals appear when both individuals are beginning to heal and grow. As their inner worlds become more balanced, the emotional connection between them can shift from chaotic intensity toward greater harmony. And this harmony often becomes one of the clearest signs that union may be approaching. Earlier in the journey, emotional exchanges between twin flames can feel overwhelming. Sudden highs and lows create confusion and emotional turbulence. But as healing progresses, the emotional signals often become calmer and more stable. Instead of dramatic emotional storms, there may be gentle waves of understanding, compassion, and quiet connection. It's almost as if both individuals are gradually learning how to hold the connection without fear. When this stage begins, many people describe feeling a deep inner peace when thinking about their twin flame. The desperate longing that once dominated the connection begins to fade. In its place appears something far more powerful: acceptance. Acceptance of the journey. Acceptance of growth. Acceptance of whatever timing the universe has chosen. And when both individuals reach this level of emotional balance, something remarkable begins happening. The energetic connection between them grows clearer. The emotional signals feel less chaotic and more harmonious. And sometimes, this emotional harmony begins appearing not only during waking life, but also within the mysterious world of dreams. Because for many people on the twin flame path, one of the most powerful signs that union may be approaching appears during sleep. Dreams begin changing. They become more vivid, more emotional, and sometimes they begin to feel almost real. In the next chapter, we will explore the third major sign that often appears before twin flame reunion, the fascinating phenomenon of recurring dreams where two souls seem to meet beyond the boundaries of the physical world. In the previous chapter, we explored the idea that twin flames may begin experiencing emotional synchronization, moments when one person suddenly feels emotions that seem to mirror what the other is going through. But theories and explanations only go so far. What truly convinces people that something deeper might be happening are the real-life moments when emotions align so precisely that coincidence becomes difficult to explain. These experiences often unfold in the quietest, most ordinary parts of life. There are no dramatic announcements, no obvious signs warning that something unusual is about to happen. Instead, a feeling simply appears, sudden, powerful, and often mysterious. And only later does reality reveal that the emotion may not have originated entirely from within. Imagine waking up early one morning with an unexpected heaviness in your chest. The feeling is subtle at first, but it grows stronger as the day continues. You try to identify the cause. Did something happen yesterday that left you feeling unsettled? Did you receive bad news? Did a stressful thought linger in your mind overnight? But nothing seems to explain the emotion. Your life feels stable. Your surroundings are calm. And yet, the sadness remains. Hours later, you receive a message from your twin flame. They tell you that they had a difficult conversation earlier that morning. Perhaps it involved a personal loss, a conflict with someone close to them, or a moment of painful self-reflection. Suddenly, the emotion you felt earlier begins to make more sense. The timing aligns perfectly. Moments like this are reported by many individuals who believe they share a twin flame connection. At first, they may dismiss the experience as coincidence. But when the pattern repeats multiple times, it becomes harder to ignore. Another common example involves sudden anxiety. A man once described sitting at his desk during a normal afternoon when a strange sense of nervousness appeared out of nowhere. His heart began beating slightly faster, and he felt restless, without understanding why. He tried to focus on his work, assuming it was simply stress. But the feeling lingered. Later that evening, he spoke with his twin flame and learned that she had been going through an intense job interview during that exact time. She had been extremely anxious, worrying about the outcome and questioning whether she would succeed. The realization surprised both of them. How could he feel anxiety connected to an event he knew nothing about? Experiences like this lead many people to wonder whether emotions might travel across energetic connections in ways we don't yet fully understand. But emotional synchronization doesn't always involve difficult emotions. Sometimes, the emotional signals shared between twin flames are positive and uplifting. For instance, someone might suddenly feel a burst of happiness while walking through the park or driving home from work. The joy feels genuine, yet strangely disconnected from anything happening in their own life. It's simply there, warm, bright, and peaceful. Later, they may discover that their twin flame experienced an important breakthrough that same day. Perhaps they received exciting news. Maybe they overcame a long-standing personal challenge. Or maybe they simply felt a moment of deep inner peace. The emotional connection appears to reflect that joy across distance. Moments like these can feel almost magical. They remind people that even when two individuals are physically separated, their inner worlds may still touch in subtle ways. One particularly fascinating form of emotional synchronization appears during moments of personal transformation. Imagine someone working through a period of deep self-healing. They spend weeks or months reflecting on past experiences, confronting emotional wounds, and slowly learning to release old pain. During this process, they may notice sudden emotional waves connected to their twin flame. Sometimes it feels as though they are processing emotions that belong to both of them. For example, a woman once described experiencing several days of intense emotional release while journaling and meditating about her past relationship with her twin flame. She cried more than she expected. Memories resurfaced that she thought she had already resolved. Yet, after the emotional release passed, she felt lighter, almost peaceful. A few days later, her twin flame contacted her unexpectedly after months of silence. During their conversation, he admitted that he had also been reflecting deeply on their past during that exact same week. He had confronted feelings he had previously avoided and finally understood the impact of certain choices he had made. The emotional timeline aligned perfectly. It was as if both individuals had been processing the same emotional chapter simultaneously, even though they had not spoken or planned it. Stories like this lead many people to believe that twin flames may share an emotional healing process on some level. When one person begins addressing unresolved feelings, the energetic connection may encourage the other to do the same. This process can feel challenging at times. Emotions that have been buried for years may suddenly surface. Old memories may return unexpectedly. But these experiences often serve an important purpose. They create space for healing. And as healing progresses, emotional synchronization often becomes calmer and more balanced. Instead of sudden emotional storms, the connection begins to feel steadier. You might notice gentle waves of compassion or understanding toward your twin flame, feelings that replace the frustration or confusion that once dominated the connection. This emotional shift is significant. Earlier in the twin flame journey, emotions often feel chaotic and overwhelming. The connection may trigger fears, insecurities, and unresolved wounds that both individuals must face. But as growth occurs, the emotional energy between them begins to stabilize. The intense emotional turbulence gradually transforms into something quieter and deeper. A sense of understanding, a sense of acceptance, and sometimes a quiet certainty that the connection still exists, even if the physical relationship has not yet returned. This stage can feel surprisingly peaceful. Instead of constantly wondering what the other person is doing or feeling, you begin trusting the connection in a calmer way. You no longer feel the need to chase answers. You simply observe the emotional signals when they appear. And when those signals align with reality, they reinforce the possibility that something meaningful is unfolding beneath the surface. Of course, not every emotional moment is connected to a twin flame. Human emotions are complex, and many factors influence how we feel each day. But people who experience emotional synchronization often notice one key difference. The emotion appears suddenly and without personal cause. It feels unusually strong or distinct. And later, the timing often matches something significant happening in the other person's life. When these experiences accumulate over time, they begin forming a pattern. A pattern suggesting that emotions may travel through invisible pathways connecting two people more deeply than ordinary relationships allow. And as fascinating as emotional synchronization can be, it is only one layer of the twin flame connection. Because as the energetic bond between twin flames grows stronger, the connection may begin appearing in an even more mysterious place. Not during waking life, not through thoughts, but through the symbolic and powerful world of dreams. Many people report that before twin flame reunion occurs, they begin dreaming about their twin flame with surprising clarity. These dreams often feel different from ordinary dreams. More vivid, more emotional, sometimes even more real than reality itself. Why would two people begin meeting in dreams before meeting again in the physical world? And what messages might those dreams carry? Sign 3. When dreams become a meeting place. Have you ever had a dream that felt so vivid, so emotionally real that you woke up wondering whether it was truly just a dream? Most dreams fade quickly after we wake up. Their details blur, their emotions disappear, and within minutes we struggle to remember exactly what happened. But some dreams are different. They stay with you. You remember the colors, the voices, the expressions on people's faces. You remember the emotions with unusual clarity. And sometimes, the feeling of that dream lingers throughout the entire day. Now imagine that the person appearing in those dreams is your twin flame. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. For many people on the twin flame journey, recurring dreams about their counterpart become one of the most mysterious and powerful signs that something deeper may be unfolding within the connection. These dreams often begin quietly. Perhaps one night, after months of not speaking to your twin flame, they suddenly appear in your dream. The meeting feels natural and calm, as if no time has passed between you. Maybe you are simply walking together. Maybe you are talking in a peaceful environment. Maybe you are sharing a moment of understanding that never fully happened in real life. When you wake up, you may feel confused. Why would they appear now? Why did the dream feel so real? At first, you might dismiss the experience as your mind processing memories or unresolved emotions. After all, dreams often reflect things we think about during the day. But then something unusual begins to happen. The dreams return. And each time they return, they feel more vivid, more emotional, more meaningful. Some people even describe these dreams as feeling different from ordinary dreams in several ways. First, the environment often feels unusually clear. Instead of the shifting and unpredictable landscapes typical of normal dreams, the setting may feel stable and detailed, almost like a real location. Second, the emotional energy of the dream can feel remarkably strong. Conversations carry deep meaning, and the connection between you and your twin flame feels authentic, even if you haven't spoken in the physical world for a long time. Third, many people wake up remembering the dream with surprising clarity, as if the experience was not simply imagination, but something more intentional. This raises an intriguing question. Why do these dreams occur so frequently on the twin flame journey? One explanation suggests that dreams provide a space where the limitations of the physical world temporarily disappear. During waking life, many factors can block communication between twin flames.
Pride, fear,
Unresolved conflicts, physical distance, life circumstances that keep two people apart. But when we enter the dream state, the mind operates differently. The usual barriers of logic and self-protection relax, allowing deeper emotions and subconscious connections to surface. In this state, some people believe that twin flames may be able to connect more freely, not through words typed on a screen, not through phone calls or messages, but through shared emotional and energetic experiences. This idea may sound unusual at first, but many individuals report remarkably similar types of dreams involving their twin flame. For example, One common theme involves reconciliation dreams. In these dreams, twin flames often meet after a period of separation. They may hug, talk openly about their feelings, or simply sit together in a peaceful environment. The emotional tone of the dream is usually calm and healing. Sometimes words are exchanged. Other times, the connection is expressed through silence and understanding. When the dream ends, the dreamer wakes up feeling an unexpected sense of closure or peace. Even if the real-life relationship remains distant, the dream leaves behind a feeling that something within the connection has shifted. Another common type of dream involves symbolic journeys. In these dreams, twin flames may be traveling together, walking along a road, exploring a new place, or moving through unfamiliar landscapes. The journey itself often carries symbolic meaning. For instance, walking together up a mountain might represent overcoming obstacles. Crossing a bridge might symbolize moving from separation toward reunion. These symbolic images can feel deeply meaningful, even if the dreamer doesn't fully understand them at the moment. Interestingly, some people also report dreams where their twin flame appears to deliver a message. The message may not always be spoken clearly, but it often carries a feeling of reassurance. For example, the twin flame might say something simple like, "Everything will be okay,"
or
"We will meet again." Even if these words appear only in the dream, they can leave a powerful emotional impact. The dreamer may wake up feeling calmer, more hopeful, and less anxious about the future of the connection. One particularly fascinating aspect of twin flame dreams is how realistic the interaction can feel. Some people describe being able to look directly into their twin flame's eyes during the dream. The emotional connection feels authentic, almost identical to what they experienced during physical encounters in waking life. Others report feeling physical sensations such as hugs or hand touches that feel surprisingly real within the dream. When they wake up, they often describe a strange mixture of comfort and longing. Comfort because the dream allowed them to reconnect emotionally. Longing because the experience ended when they opened their eyes. But perhaps the most mysterious part of these dreams is what happens next. Sometimes, the other person reports having a similar dream. Not always identical, but connected in theme or emotion. Imagine telling someone that you dreamed about them last night, only to discover that they also dreamed about you. The setting may not match perfectly. The details may differ slightly, but the emotional experience feels strangely aligned. Moments like these lead many people to wonder whether dreams might serve as a kind of meeting place between two souls. A space where the deeper layers of consciousness interact beyond the limits of physical reality. Of course, not every dream about a twin flame carries spiritual meaning. Our minds naturally process memories, emotions, and unresolved thoughts through dreams. But people who experience recurring twin flame dreams often notice several distinctive characteristics. The dreams repeat frequently. They feel unusually vivid. The emotional connection feels authentic. And the messages or symbols within the dream often relate directly to the current stage of the twin flame journey. For example, during periods of intense healing, dreams may involve emotional conversations or forgiveness. During times when reunion is approaching, dreams may involve peaceful meetings, shared journeys, or feelings of mutual understanding. These patterns suggest that dreams might reflect the evolving state of the connection. In other words, the dreams may not simply be random imagination. They may mirror the energetic progress taking place between two individuals. And as the connection becomes more balanced, the dreams themselves often change. Earlier in the journey, dreams may feel chaotic or emotionally intense. Later, they often become calmer, more harmonious, more peaceful. Many people describe these later dreams as feeling like quiet reunions, moments where two souls meet again, even if the physical world has not yet caught up with the connection. But dreams are only one piece of the puzzle. Because when telepathic thoughts, synchronized emotions, and recurring dreams begin appearing together, something even more interesting may be happening. These signs may not be random events. They may be signals that the energetic bond between twin flames is growing stronger. And when that bond becomes strong enough, the possibility of physical reunion begins to move closer. In the previous chapter, we explored how recurring dreams about a twin flame can feel vivid, emotional, and strangely meaningful. Many people describe these dreams as different from ordinary dreams, almost as if they're stepping into a shared space where communication becomes possible again. But one of the most intriguing aspects of these dreams is what sometimes happens after you wake up. Because occasionally, the dream does not remain isolated within your mind. Instead, something in the physical world begins to reflect it. At first, the connection may appear subtle. Perhaps you dream about your twin flame after months of silence. In the dream, you are simply sitting together in a quiet place, talking calmly, as if the tension between you has finally faded. When you wake up, you feel a strange mixture of peace and curiosity. The dream felt so real that you can still remember the tone of their voice, the expression in their eyes, and the warmth of the moment. But then the day unfolds normally. Nothing unusual happens. Life continues exactly as before. And yet, a few days later, something unexpected occurs. Your twin flame suddenly reaches out. The conversation may not perfectly match the dream, but the emotional tone feels remarkably similar, calm, open, and reflective. It's almost as if the dream was quietly preparing the emotional space for that moment to happen. Stories like this appear frequently among people who experience the twin flame journey. The dream itself may not predict specific events, but it often reflects emotional changes that are beginning to occur within the connection. Imagine another example. A man once described dreaming that he and his twin flame were walking together through a peaceful park. In the dream, there were no arguments, no confusion, only a quiet sense of companionship. They spoke briefly about their past, acknowledging the mistakes they had both made. Then they continued walking forward together. When he woke up, he felt unusually calm about the relationship. The frustration and longing he had carried for months seemed to soften. At the time, he didn't think much about the dream. But 2 weeks later, he and his twin flame unexpectedly met again through a mutual friend. Their real-life conversation felt surprisingly similar to the dream. Instead of tension or blame, they spoke calmly about their past and the lessons they had learned. The dream had not been a literal preview of the meeting, but emotionally, it seemed to reflect the same shift toward understanding. This raises an interesting possibility. What if twin flame dreams sometimes mirror inner changes happening beneath the surface? Even when two people are not speaking, both may be growing and healing in their own ways. As emotional wounds begin to resolve, the energetic connection between them may also begin to transform. Dreams might simply be one way the mind processes this transformation. Instead of focusing on conflict or confusion, the dream begins presenting images of reconciliation, understanding, and peace. In other words, the dream reflects the emotional future that the connection is slowly moving toward. Another fascinating pattern appears when people begin dreaming about their twin flame shortly before unexpected contact occurs. For example, someone might dream about receiving a message from their twin flame after months of silence. The dream feels simple and natural, nothing dramatic. They wake up, remember the dream briefly, and continue with their day. Later that week, their twin flame reaches out for the first time in months. Moments like this can feel almost surreal. Was the dream simply coincidence? Or did the dream reflect an energetic shift that had already begun within the other person? Some people believe that when twin flames begin thinking about each other again after a long period of distance, that emotional signal may appear first within the dream world. Dreams become a kind of early indicator that something within the connection is changing. Of course, not every dream carries such clear connections to real-life events. Sometimes the dreams are symbolic rather than literal. For example, you might dream about crossing a bridge with your twin flame. In the dream, both of you walk slowly across the bridge together. The atmosphere feels calm and hopeful. When you wake up, the dream might not immediately make sense. But later, you realize that the symbolism may represent a transition, moving from separation toward reconnection. Similarly, dreaming about climbing a mountain together might represent overcoming the challenges that once kept you apart. Dreams often speak through symbols because the subconscious mind communicates through images rather than direct explanations. Interestingly, as twin flames progress through different stages of their journey, the themes of their dreams often change. Early in the journey, dreams may be filled with confusion or emotional intensity. Arguments, misunderstandings, or chaotic environments may appear. These dreams often reflect the unresolved emotions both individuals are carrying at the time. But as healing progresses, the dreams tend to evolve. The settings become calmer. The conversations become clearer. The emotional tone becomes peaceful rather than dramatic. Many people describe reaching a stage where their dreams about their twin flame feel almost serene. In these dreams, the two individuals simply spend time together, talking, walking, or sitting quietly. There is no urgency, no conflict, just a sense of mutual understanding. This shift often mirrors what is happening internally. Both individuals may be reaching a point where they are no longer driven by fear or longing. Instead, they begin accepting the connection as it is, trusting that whatever is meant to happen will unfold naturally. When this emotional balance appears, something important begins to change. The connection stops feeling like a struggle. Instead, it begins feeling like a quiet alignment. Dreams may reflect this alignment before it becomes visible in the physical world. For some people, these dreams even begin appearing more frequently during the months leading up to reunion. Not necessarily every night, but often enough to feel significant. Each dream seems to carry a similar message. The distance between you is no longer defined by conflict. The connection has matured. Something is shifting. But perhaps the most powerful realization comes when people look back at these dreams after reunion finally occurs. Many individuals notice that the emotional themes of their dreams had already been preparing them for that moment. The dreams had shown reconciliation before it happened. They had shown calm conversations before they took place in real life. They had shown peaceful companionship long before the physical reunion occurred. It was as if the subconscious mind, or perhaps something deeper, had already sensed the direction the connection was moving toward. And this realization leads to an even bigger question. If telepathic thoughts can occur, if emotions can synchronize across distance, and if dreams can reflect changes happening within the connection, could all these signs be pointing toward something much larger? Could they be signals that two souls are gradually moving back into alignment? By now, we've explored 3 powerful signs that many people report experiencing on the twin flame journey: telepathic thoughts, synchronized emotions, and recurring dreams that feel unusually vivid and meaningful. Each of these signs can be fascinating on its own. But when they begin appearing together, something interesting happens. A pattern begins to form. Thoughts about your twin flames suddenly appear at the exact moment they reach out. Emotions shift unexpectedly, only to later reflect what they were going through at the same time. Dreams become clearer, calmer, and more peaceful than before. Individually, each moment might be explained away as coincidence. But when these experiences repeat and overlap, many people begin asking a deeper question. Why do these signs seem to appear more frequently during certain phases of a journey? Interestingly, countless individuals who eventually reconnect with their twin flame report something similar. These energetic signals often become strongest right before reunion begins to unfold. But why would that be? Why would telepathy, emotional mirroring, and meaningful dreams intensify just before two people meet again in the physical world? To understand this, we need to look at what usually happens during the earlier stages of the twin flame journey. Most twin flame connections go through a period known as separation. During this phase, the relationship often becomes complicated or even painful. Misunderstandings occur. Emotional wounds surface. One person may pull away while the other feels confused or heartbroken. At first glance, separation can feel like the end of the connection. But many people later realize that this stage was not meant to destroy the bond, it was meant to transform it. The separation phase forces both individuals to confront parts of themselves that still need healing. Old fears about rejection, unresolved trauma, patterns of insecurity or emotional avoidance. Without this process, the connection might remain unstable. Two people cannot truly build a harmonious relationship if they are both carrying unresolved emotional weight. So the journey often pauses. Each person moves forward on their own path for a while. Sometimes months, sometimes years. During this time, both individuals begin focusing on their personal growth. They learn difficult lessons. They develop emotional maturity. They slowly release the fears and attachments that once created conflict between them. And something remarkable begins happening during this process. Even though the two people may not be speaking, their inner transformations gradually bring them closer into alignment again. Think of it like two travelers who once started on the same road but took different paths for a while. At first, those paths move in opposite directions. But eventually, they begin curving back toward the same destination. The closer they get to that meeting point, the more their journeys begin to overlap again. Energetically, something similar may happen between twin flames. As both individuals grow and heal, their emotional frequencies begin aligning once more. Earlier in the journey, their energies may have been chaotic, filled with fear, longing, confusion, and emotional triggers. But as healing occurs, that chaos begins to settle. Instead of emotional storms, the connection begins to feel calmer. Instead of desperation, there is acceptance. Instead of confusion, there is clarity. This shift in emotional energy plays a crucial role in why the signs we discussed earlier begin appearing more clearly. When two people are emotionally overwhelmed or spiritually disconnected, their energetic communication can feel blocked or distorted. Telepathic signals become drowned out by fear. Emotional synchronization becomes chaotic rather than balanced. Dreams become confusing rather than meaningful. But as both individuals reach a higher level of inner balance, the energetic connection between them becomes clearer. It's almost like tuning a radio. When the signal is weak or interrupted, you hear only static. But when the frequency becomes aligned, the message suddenly becomes clear. Telepathic thoughts may appear more frequently. Emotions begin mirroring each other more calmly. Dreams become vivid reflections of the evolving connection. These signs are not necessarily magical predictions of the future. Instead, they may simply reflect the fact that both individuals are finally reaching a similar emotional and spiritual state. And when that alignment occurs, reunion becomes possible again. But there is another reason these signs often appear right before union. It has to do with awareness. Earlier in the journey, both people may be too focused on external circumstances to notice subtle energetic signals. They are busy analyzing the relationship, questioning the other person's actions, or struggling with their own emotional pain. But after a period of healing, something changes. They begin turning inward. Instead of obsessing over what the other person is doing, they start focusing on their own growth, purpose, and inner peace. Ironically, this is often when the energetic signs begin appearing more clearly. Because when the mind becomes quieter and less attached to outcomes, it becomes easier to notice subtle connections that were always present. Telepathic moments feel more noticeable. Emotional waves become easier to observe. Dreams become easier to remember. In other words, the signs may not suddenly appear out of nowhere. They may have been there all along, but now the individual is finally able to perceive them. This stage of the journey can feel surprisingly peaceful compared to earlier phases. The intense longing that once dominated the connection begins to soften. Instead of chasing reunion, people begin focusing on their own happiness and growth. They start living their lives fully again. And this emotional independence often creates the perfect conditions for reunion to occur naturally. Because when both individuals reach a place of inner balance, the connection no longer feels like a struggle. It becomes something lighter, something calmer, something that flows instead of forcing itself forward. And this is often when the universe seems to begin arranging unexpected opportunities for the two people to cross paths again. A random message appears. A chance encounter occurs. A mutual friend reconnects them. Or life circumstances simply bring them back into each other's orbit. When these moments happen, many people look back and realize something fascinating. The signs had already begun appearing beforehand. The telepathic thoughts, the emotional synchronization, the recurring dreams. All of them seemed to quietly signal that something was shifting beneath the surface. But perhaps the most important lesson of this stage is that these signs are not meant to create obsession or anxiety. They are not meant to make someone constantly analyze every thought, emotion, or dream. Instead, they simply remind us that human connections may be deeper than we often realize. Some relationships carry a unique energy that continues influencing both individuals even when they are apart. And when both people grow into the versions of themselves they were meant to become, that connection may find its way back into harmony. But what happens when union finally arrives? What does it feel like when two people who have grown through separation finally reconnect again? There is a quiet moment on the twin flame journey that many people overlook. It is not dramatic. It does not arrive with fireworks or sudden declarations of love. Instead, it arrives like a deep breath after a long storm. This moment is energetic alignment.
Not chasing.
Not longing. Not obsessing.
Just peace.
Ironically, this peaceful state is often the clearest sign that union is very close. But why does it work this way? Why does the connection feel calm just before everything finally comes together? Let's explore the final energetic shift that happens before twin flame union. The end of the chase. For most of the twin flame journey, there is a push and pull dynamic. One person chases. The other runs. Then the roles reverse. Then the cycle repeats. This stage can last months or even years. The chaser feels desperate to reconnect. The runner feels overwhelmed by the intensity. But eventually something profound happens. The chaser stops chasing. Not out of anger. Not out of exhaustion. But because they finally realize something deeper. Union cannot be forced. It can only happen when both souls reach the same level of inner balance. And when this realization sinks in, the energy shifts dramatically. You stop checking your phone every hour. You stop analyzing every sign. You stop trying to control the outcome. And something incredible happens. The universe begins moving things on your behalf. Inner peace replaces obsession. Before union, many twin flames notice a surprising emotional change. The longing that once consumed them begins to soften. You still love your twin flame. You still feel the connection. But the desperate need to have them immediately fades away. Instead, a calm certainty appears. You begin to feel, if it's meant to happen, it will. This isn't giving up. This is energetic surrender. And surrender is one of the most powerful states in spiritual alignment. Because when you stop resisting reality, your energy becomes clear and magnetic. This allows the connection to rebalance naturally. Many twin flames report that this peaceful phase begins just weeks or months before reunion.
Why?
Because inner harmony creates external harmony, the silence that precedes reunion. Another surprising sign appears during this stage. The connection may actually feel quieter for a while. The telepathic intensity softens. The emotional waves calm down. The dreams become less chaotic. At first, this can feel confusing. You might wonder, why does everything suddenly feel so still? But this stillness is not distance. It is stability. Imagine two tuning forks vibrating at different frequencies. They cannot produce harmony. But once they match frequencies, something beautiful happens. They resonate together effortlessly. The twin flame energy works the same way. Once both souls stabilize emotionally and spiritually, the chaotic intensity disappears. What remains is peaceful resonance. And resonance naturally draws people back together. Real-life example, Daniel and Sophia. Daniel had spent 3 years on the twin flame journey. When he first met Sophia, the connection was overwhelming. They felt instant recognition, deep emotional intimacy, and a magnetic attraction they could not explain. But just as quickly as it began, everything collapsed. Sophia pulled away. Daniel chased the connection desperately. Messages went unanswered. Months passed in painful silence. Then years. During this time, Daniel tried everything. Meditation, healing, self-improvement. At first he was doing these things to bring Sophia back. But eventually something shifted. He stopped doing the work for the relationship. He started doing it for himself. He began building a life that felt fulfilling even without reunion. And slowly, the emotional chaos faded. One evening, Daniel noticed something strange. For the first time in years, he thought about Sophia and felt completely peaceful. No sadness. No urgency. Just quiet love. 2 weeks later, Sophia contacted him unexpectedly. She said something that surprised him. I don't know why, but lately I felt drawn back to you again. This kind of timing happens more often than people realize. Because when one twin reaches energetic balance, it often triggers alignment in the other. The universe begins creating opportunities. When union approaches, many people notice strange coincidences begin happening. These are often called synchronicities. You might run into mutual friends. Hear your twin flame's name repeatedly. Visit places connected to shared memories. Or even cross paths unexpectedly. These moments are not random. They are subtle nudges from the universe. But here's the key difference at this stage. You're no longer trying to create these encounters. They simply happen. Effortlessly. Naturally. The universe starts arranging situations where reconnection becomes possible.
Not forced.
Just possible. And when both people are energetically ready, those opportunities become reunion. The deep knowing. Another powerful sign appears before union. You stop asking whether reunion will happen. Instead, you begin to feel a quiet inner knowing. It's difficult to explain logically, but it feels like this. A sense that the story isn't finished. A feeling that something important is still unfolding. Not because you are clinging to hope, but because the connection feels complete in a deeper way. Many twin flames describe this feeling as peaceful certainty. You no longer chase signs. You simply trust the timing. And paradoxically, this trust is what allows the final pieces to fall into place. When both souls are finally ready, twin flame union does not happen because two people miss each other. It happens because two souls have grown enough to sustain the connection. Earlier in the journey, the love is powerful but unstable. Old wounds surface. Fears trigger separation. But after enough healing, something changes. The connection becomes grounded, balanced, stable. And when this happens, the universe no longer needs separation to create growth. That's when union becomes possible. Not as a fantasy, but as a real relationship. As you reflect on your own journey, ask yourself something honestly. Have you noticed your energy becoming calmer lately? Do you feel less desperate for reunion than before? Are you beginning to feel peaceful even without answers? If so, you might be closer to alignment than you realize. Because the final stage of the twin flame journey is not intensity. It is inner peace. The truth about union. Many people imagine twin flame union as a dramatic, cinematic moment. But in reality, it often arrives quietly. A message, a conversation, an unexpected meeting. And suddenly the connection that once felt impossible becomes real again. But the real miracle is not the reunion itself. The miracle is who you became along the way. Stronger, wiser, more self-aware, more aligned with your soul. And that transformation is the true purpose of the twin flame journey. If you are still walking this path, remember something important. Union is not something you chase. It is something you become ready for. Focus on your healing. Focus on your growth. Focus on building a life that feels whole on its own. Because when two souls finally reach that level of wholeness, union no longer feels like destiny forcing two people together. It feels like the universe gently guiding them back to where they were always meant to be. If this message resonated with your journey, take a moment to reflect. Have you experienced telepathy, emotional synchronization, or dreams about your twin flame lately? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone else understand their path. And if you want to explore deeper insights about the twin flame journey, spiritual awakening, and the hidden signs the universe sends before reunion, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. Your journey might be closer to alignment than you think.
Thank you for spending this moment with me. If this message resonated with your soul, remember to subscribe and continue this journey with us here on Twin Flame Journey. And always remember, what is meant for your soul will always find its way back to you.